The stars glimmered against the black void of space as the Vree war cruiser Talon of Dominion moved through the Kepler Traverse. Commander Thexwell stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes scanning the tactical displays with practiced ease. His scales rippled with anticipation. Today would be a good day for the Concordat. For 3 months the Vree had observed the humans. These fragile creatures had emerged into the galaxy like children wandering into a war zone. They spoke of peace and cooperation. They offered trade agreements and cultural exchanges. To Thexwell and his people, this was a behavior of prey animals. Feeble, pathetic, ready to be dominated. The censor officer hissed, drawing Thexwell's attention. A single ship had appeared on their screens. The computer identified it as a human cargo vessel, the Maiden's Reward. It was alone, traveling through space without escort. Perfect. Thexwell felt his secondary hearts quicken with excitement. The Concordat had been testing humanity's resolve for weeks, pushing boundaries, violating their space lanes. The humans always protested through diplomatic channels. They never fought back. This would be simple. He gave the order, and the Talon of Dominion decloaked directly in front of the human vessel. The cargo ship was small compared to his warship, perhaps a fifth of the size. Its hull was painted with bright colors and identification markers. It looked fragile, defenseless. The communications officer opened a channel. Thexwell stood tall, letting his full height of 9 feet dominate the view screen. He bared his fangs in what his species considered a display of dominance. Human vessel. This is Commander Thexwell of the Vree Concordat. You have entered sovereign Concordat space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Comply immediately, and you will not be harmed. For a moment there was only silence. Then the human captain appeared on the screen. She was small, barely 6 feet tall by Thexwell's estimation. Her skin was pale, her hair tied back in a simple knot. She wore a plain gray uniform with minimal decorations. She looked utterly unremarkable. Captain Sarachin looked directly into the camera with eyes that showed no fear. That should have been Thexwell's first warning. Negative, she said calmly. This is not Concordat space. This is neutral territory under the Kepler Accords. We are conducting lawful transit. Withdraw from this vector or face defensive action. Thexwell laughed. His crew joined him, the bridge filling with the harsh barking sounds of re-amusement. Defensive action? From a cargo hauler? Human, you do not comprehend your situation. We have weapons that can tear your little ship apart. We have armor that can withstand any assault you might attempt. Surrender now, or we will disable your vessel and take what we want. Captain Chen's expression didn't change. She glanced at something off screen, then looked back. Commander, you are making a mistake. Our distress beacon is active. Assistance is en route. I'm giving you one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. This made Thexwell even more amused. Help? The nearest human military base was 3 days away at maximum speed. By then, he would have stripped this cargo ship of anything valuable and been long gone. Your arrogance will cost you. Human, weapons, fire a warning shot across their bow. Let them see what real power looks like. The weapons officer complied. A bright blue plasma bolt shot from the Talon of Dominion's forward cannons, streaking across space in front of the Maiden's Reward. It was a precise shot, close enough to be threatening, but not close enough to cause damage. A universal language. Surrender or else. The human ship didn't move. It didn't attempt to run. It simply sat there in space, engines humming quietly. Captain Chen appeared on the screen again. This time something had shifted in her expression. Her eyes were harder, colder. Commander Thexwell, you have just fired upon a vessel flying under the flag of the United Earth Navy. This constitutes an act of war under the Tau Ceti Convention. You have violated 17 articles of interstellar law. I am required to inform you that we will respond with appropriate force. Thexwell felt irritation replace his amusement. This human was still talking, still pretending to hold power. Weapons, disable their engines. Nothing lethal. We want them alive for questioning. 3 more plasma bolts fired from the Talon of Dominion. These were aimed with precision at the cargo ship's engine section. They should have torn through the thin hull plating that civilian vessels carried, crippling the ship and ending this farce. Instead, something impossible happened. Panels along the Maiden's Reward's hull slid open. Thick armor plating emerged, unfolding like the petals of a metal flower. The plasma bolt struck the armor and dissipated harmlessly, absorbed by a shield that had no business existing on a cargo vessel. Thexwell's mouth fell open. His crew went silent. More panels opened. What appeared to be cargo containers revealed themselves to be weapon bays. Rail guns extended from concealed ports. Missile tubes rotated into firing position. Point defense systems activated with sound that carried even through the vacuum of space, detected by the Talon sensors. The Maiden's Reward transformed before their eyes. What had been a defenseless cargo hauler now bristled with enough firepower to challenge a military destroyer. Captain Chen's face reappeared on the screen. She was no longer seated. She stood on her bridge, surrounded by crew members in military uniforms, all moving with practiced efficiency. Behind her, tactical displays showed the Talona Dominion outlined in red, weapon solutions already calculated. Commander Thexwell, I need you to understand something very clearly. The Maiden's Reward is a United Earth Navy Q-ship. That means we are a warship disguised as a civilian vessel. We were specifically deployed to this sector because intelligence indicated the Concordat was targeting human merchants. You just attacked a military vessel of a sovereign nation. You fired weapons at personnel under my command. She leaned forward, and for the first time, Thexwell felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Fear. 6 weeks ago, your Concordat killed 3,000 of my people on New Perth. Men, women, children, families. You butchered them because you believed we were weak. You believed we would not fight back. You were wrong. Captain Chen's voice dropped to a whisper, but somehow it seemed louder than a shout. Weapons free. Target their engines, their weapons, and their communications. Leave life support intact. I want survivors. I want them to go home and tell the Concordat exactly what happens when you attack humans. The Maiden's Reward opened fire. Rail guns launched metal slugs at tremendous velocity. They struck the Talon of Dominion shields and punched straight through. The Vree shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid projectiles traveling at thousands of meters per second. Alarms shrieked as the slugs tore through the warship's armor. Missiles followed, each one twisting and adjusting with unnatural agility. The Talon's point defense systems attempted to shoot them down, but could not keep up. The missiles struck engines, weapon batteries, and sensor rays with surgical precision. Thexwell grabbed a command chair to keep from falling as his ship shuddered under the assault. Return fire. Destroy them. But the human ship was already moving. It accelerated with astonishing speed, circling the much larger Vree vessel like a predator circling wounded prey. Every time the Talon tried to bring its weapons to bear, the Maiden's Reward was somewhere else, firing from a new angle. Through the chaos, Thexwell heard Captain Chen's voice, calm and cold. Welcome to War with Humanity. Commander, class is now in session. The bridge of the Talon of Dominion had become a nightmare of flashing red lights and screaming alarms. Thexwell clutched his command station as another impact rocked the ship. Through the main viewport, he could see the human vessel weaving through space with movements that should have been impossible for a ship that size. Shields at 40%, his tactical officer shouted. They're targeting our weapon systems. We've lost the port missile battery and 2 plasma cannons. Thexwell could not comprehend what was happening. His ship was 3 times the size of a human vessel. It had armor plating that had withstood attacks from the Krell Empire. It had shields powered by zero-point energy. Yet the humans were cutting through his defenses like they were made of paper. Another salvo of rail gun rounds struck the starboard side. The solid metal slugs punched through the shields and smashed into the hull. Each impact sent shockwaves through the entire vessel. Thexwell's crew was being thrown around like toys. Some were wounded, bleeding the purple blood of the Vree people. How are they doing this? Thexwell demanded. Those are primitive kinetic weapons. Our shield should neutralize them easily. His science officer looked up from her station, dread evident in all 4 of her eyes. Commander, their weapons are moving too fast. The kinetic energy is overwhelming our shield generators. They are using physics against us. Physics? Of course. The Vree had spent centuries perfecting energy weapons and energy shields. They had assumed everyone else would follow the same path. But the humans had kept the old ways, the brutal simplicity of hurling metal at high speeds. And it was working. The Maiden's Reward fired again, launching a spread of missiles. Each missile carried a small thruster system, allowing it to alter direction mid-flight. The Talon's defensive systems managed to destroy 3, but 2 got through. They struck the main engine section, and the ship lurched violently, engine power dropping. The engineering officer reported, plasma containment failing in Reactor 2. Main thrust down to 60%. Thexville made a decision. Helm, bring us about. Full power to rear shields. We are leaving. Yes, Commander. The Talon of Dominion began to turn, its massive bulk slowly rotating to point away from a human ship. Thexville's fingers worked the controls to activate the faster-than-light drive. Once online, they could jump away from this disaster, regroup, call for reinforcements, and return with a proper fleet. The FTL drive charged slowly. Too slowly. The human ship seemed to sense what he was planning. It accelerated again, circling to target the Talon's engineering section directly. They're locking weapons on our FTL core, Tactical warned. Evasive maneuvers. Get us out of their firing solution. But the Talon of Dominion was too large, too sluggish. The human ship was smaller and far more agile. It maintained position behind them no matter how the helmsman maneuvered. 3 more railgun rounds fired in quick succession. All 3 struck the engineering section with devastating accuracy. Alarms screamed even louder. The bridge lights flickered and died, replaced by dim emergency lighting. FTL drive is offline, engineering reported. Direct hit to the quantum manifold. We are not going anywhere. Commander. Thexville felt his blood run cold. They were trapped, dead in space, with a human warship circling them like a predator around a wounded animal. He had heard the stories from other species, whispered warnings about the humans. He had dismissed them as cowardice. Now he understood. The humans weren't simply defending themselves. They were hunting. Open all emergency channels, Thexville ordered. Send a Priority 1 distress signal to Concordat High Command. Tell them everything. Yes, Commander. What should the message say? Thexville watched the human ship through the viewport. It had stopped firing. It simply held position in space, weapons still trained on his crippled vessel, waiting. Tell them the truth. Tell them we were wrong about the humans. Tell them these creatures are not prey. They are apex predators. Tell them to avoid human space at all cost. Tell them, if they see a human ship, they should run. The communications officer sent the message. It broadcast on all Concordat frequencies, a warning that would reach every VRE ship in this sector within hours. Captain Chen's face appeared on the screen again. She still appeared calm. That somehow made it worse. She wasn't furious or exhilarated. She was simply doing her job, and her job was disabling VRE warships. Commander Thexville, your vessel is disabled. Your FTL drive is offline. Your weapons are destroyed. Your shields are failing. You have 2 choices. You can continue to fight, and I will destroy your life support systems and leave you to die in the cold of space. Or you can surrender, and I will ensure your crew receives medical attention. The choice is yours. Thexville wanted to refuse. His pride as a VRE warrior demanded that he fight to his last breath. But he looked around his bridge at his wounded crew, at the young officers who trusted him to lead them, and he knew there was only one choice he could make. We surrender. Smart decision, Commander. Power down all remaining weapon systems and stand by. The Talon of Dominion went dark. All weapons powered down. The ship hung in space, helpless. Thexville expected the humans to board his vessel, take prisoners, or execute his crew. Instead, something else happened. His sensors detected 3 new contacts emerging from faster-than-light travel. 3 more human ships materialized in the system, and these were not disguised as cargo haulers. They were warships, real warships. Each one was twice the size of the Maiden's Reward and covered in weapon systems that made his Talon look primitive. They moved into position around his disabled vessel, forming a perfect triangle. He was surrounded. The largest of the 3 ships hailed them. A new human appeared on the screen, older than Captain Chun, with gray hair and a face marked by deep lines. He wore a uniform covered in medals and decorations. An Admiral, Thexville realized. Commander Thexville, I am Admiral James Katsuro of the United Earth Navy. The ship you attacked was under my command. The crew you fired upon were my people. The Admiral's voice was measured, but there was iron beneath it. Thexville had heard that tone before, from generals who had witnessed too much war. You are now a prisoner of the United Earth Navy. Your crew will be treated according to the Tau Ceti Convention on the treatment of prisoners of war. You will receive medical care, food, and humane treatment. When this matter is resolved, you will be returned to the Concordat. Thexville was confused. You're not going to execute us? Execute you? No, Commander. That would be a waste. You are worth considerably more to me alive than dead. I don't understand. Admiral Katsuro leaned forward, his eyes steady. 6 weeks ago, your Concordat attacked our colony on New Perth. You killed 3,000 people, men, women, and children. You burned our homes and destroyed our crops. You did this because you believed we were weak. You believed we would not fight back. The Admiral's voice grew colder. You were wrong. And now you are going to help me ensure the Concordat never makes that mistake again. You are going home, Commander. You are going to tell your leaders exactly what took place here today. You are going to show them the sensor logs of this battle, and you are going to deliver a message for me. What message? That humanity remembers New Perth. We remember every single name, every single face. And if the Concordat ever attacks another human colony, another human ship, or harms one more human life, we will not send Q-ships. We will not send small battle groups. We will send fleets. We will send armies. And we will not stop until the Concordat is nothing but a memory. Admiral Katsuro held his gaze. Do you understand me, Commander Thexville? Thexville understood perfectly. The humans were extending mercy today, but it was a conditional mercy, a warning wrapped in compassion. I understand, Admiral. Good. Captain Chun, your ship will escort the Talon of Dominion to the nearest neutral station. Provide them with sufficient reactor power to maintain life support. Send medical teams to treat their wounded. He paused. And Commander Thexville, there are 6 human colony ships currently en route through Concordat space. They are carrying civilians, families, children. Safe passage is expected. If anything happens to those ships, I will hold you personally responsible. Make sure your government understands that. The transmission ended. Thexville sat in his command chair, surrounded by the wreckage of his once proud warship, and understood that everything Concordat believed about humanity was wrong. The High Council chamber of the Vree Concordat was a massive circular room carved from black stone. 12 leaders of the 4 Concordat species sat in elevated chairs, looking down at Commander Thexville as he stood in the center. Above them, holographic displays showed the sensor data from his battle with the human Q-ship, the footage playing on repeat, showing the Talon of Dominion being systematically dismantled. High Prelate Kickstart, leader of the Vree and head of the council, leaned forward. His scales were deep crimson, marking him as a warrior who had witnessed many battles. Commander Thexville, you stand before this council in disgrace. You lost a heavy cruiser to a single human vessel. You surrender without fighting to the end. Explain yourself. Thexville kept his head high. High Prelate. With respect, fighting to the end would have accomplished nothing. The humans had already disabled our ship. They had reinforcements. My crew would have perished for no purpose. Your crew should have been willing to die for the Concordat. Kickstart's voice echoed through the chamber. Instead, you showed weakness. You showed fear. And now the humans believe they can intimidate us. The humans don't believe they can intimidate us, High Prelate. Thexville said quietly. They know they can destroy us. I witnessed their weapons. I witnessed their tactics. We have made a grave error. Murmurs swept through the council. Some were agitated. Others were thoughtful. Strategic Overseer Min Thao, a member of the Quilax species renowned for their analytical minds, raised a hand for silence. Commander Thexville, tell us about the human weapons. Our intelligence suggests they employ primitive kinetic systems. Surely our shields would handle such basic technology. That is what I believed as well, Overseer. But the humans did not simply hurl projectiles at us. Their rail guns fire solid rounds at tremendous velocity. The kinetic energy was too great for our shields. The rounds punched straight through and struck our hull. The projectiles were composed of dense metals that tore through our armor as if it were fabric. Min Thao made notes on her datapad. Interesting. What are their missiles? Autonomous. Each missile carried its own guidance system. They could alter course mid-flight. Our point defense systems could not track them all. And when they connected, they struck exactly where the humans intended. They disabled our engines without destroying them. They neutralized our weapons without killing the crew operating them. It was precision I have never encountered. They were showing mercy. One of the other council members said dismissively, "That is weakness." Thexwell shook his head. No, it was restraint. The humans could have obliterated us completely. They chose not to because they wanted us alive. They wanted us to return here and relay all of this. They wanted you to see the sensor logs. This was calculated psychological strategy. High Prelate Kickstart slammed his hand against his armrest. I will not be intimidated by a species that has been in space for barely 300 years. We have governed this sector for 10,000 years. We have conquered 47 species. We will not yield to humans. Min Thao rose, her tall, slender frame unfolding gracefully. High Prelate, with respect, perhaps we should analyze the situation more carefully before reaching conclusions. Commander Thexwell, tell us about the human admiral. What was his manner? Thexwell recalled Admiral Katsuro's face on the screen. Composed, measured. He did not gloat or threaten. He simply presented facts. He told me that if we attack another human ship or colony, they will respond with overwhelming force. He cared for my wounded crew and released us, but I believed every word he said. This was not a bluff. Of course it was a bluff, Kickstart growled. The humans have a modest navy, perhaps a few hundred ships spread across their territory. We have thousands. Should it come to war, we will crush them. Min Thao pulled up data on the holographic display. That assessment may not be accurate. High Prelate, our intelligence has been incomplete. I have been reviewing what we know about humanity, and there are troubling gaps. We do not know the locations of all their military installations. We cannot intercept their communications. Their encryption is beyond anything we have encountered. And according to reports from other species, humans do not fight the way we do. What does that mean? Another council member asked. Most species in the galaxy maintain centralized military command. Destroy the capital and the military becomes disorganized. But humans do not operate that way. Each colony has its own defense force. Each ship captain carries significant independent authority. If we destroyed Earth tomorrow, the remainder of humanity would continue fighting. There is no single point of failure. Thexwell nodded. The Admiral told me something else. He said humanity remembers. They keep records of every assault, every casualty, every engagement. The colony on New Perth, they know the name of every human who died there. All 3,000. They are not fighting for territory or resources. They are fighting for justice, and that makes them unpredictable. The council chamber fell into silence. Even Kickstart appeared to be reflecting. Finally, he spoke. What do you recommend, Commander? Peace, High Prelate. We should open diplomatic channels with humanity. We should acknowledge what happened at New Perth and negotiate a settlement. We should recognize their territory and leave them in peace. Unacceptable. Kickstart stood, his full 9 feet of height towering over the chamber. If we display weakness now, every species in Concordat will believe they can challenge us. Our empire will fragment. We will not apologize. We will not retreat. We will demonstrate to the humans that the Concordat is not to be challenged. Min Thao attempted to interject. High Prelate, perhaps we should dispatch observers first. Study the humans more carefully. Understand their full capabilities before we. Enough. Kickstart's voice rang out. I call for a vote. The Concordat will dispatch a fleet to intercept one of the human colony ships currently in our space. We will capture it, show the humans that we are not afraid, and demonstrate our power to the entire galaxy. All in favor. 8 hands rose. Only Min Thao and 3 others abstained. The matter was decided. Thexwell felt his heart sink. High Prelate, this is a mistake. The Admiral specifically warned us about those colony ships. He said if anything happened to them. I do not care what the human Admiral said. The decision is made. You are dismissed, Commander. Thexwell bowed and left the chamber. As he walked through the corridors of the council building, Minthal caught up with him. They are fools, she said quietly. I have been studying humanity for months. Everything suggests they are far more formidable than we assumed. Then why didn't you argue more forcefully? Because Kickstart is already committed to his course. He views this as a matter of honor. The other council members follow his lead. She paused. I am going to prepare for the worst. What does that mean? Minthal glanced around, confirmed they were alone. I am relocating our Quillix colony ships away from human space. I am ordering our frontier outposts to evacuate, and I am preparing our people for the possibility that we have just ignited a war we cannot win. You believe it will be that severe? Commander, you witnessed what a single human Q ship did to your cruiser. Now consider what they will do when we attack a vessel carrying their families, their children. She met his gaze. Yes, I believe it will be that severe. Far away, in a secure facility on Earth, Captain Sarachin sat in a debriefing room. Across from her were Admiral Katsuro and several intelligence officers. The Concordat intercepted Commander Thexwell's distress signal, one of the officers reported. We have been monitoring their communications. They are planning to attack the colony ship New Horizons. Admiral Katsuro nodded slowly. Expected. They are going to attempt to restore their honor through a show of force. How long until the New Horizons reaches the intercept point? 72 hours, sir. Good. That gives us time to prepare. Activate Protocol Pandora. I want the Third Fleet in position before the Concordat arrives. And ensure every ship captain understands the rules of engagement. The New Horizons is carrying 50,000 civilians. We will not allow the Concordat to touch them. Captain Chen leaned forward. Sir, if we eliminate an entire Concordat fleet, won't that escalate the situation? Admiral Katsuro looked at her with tired eyes. Captain, the situation was escalated the moment they killed 3,000 people on New Perth. We issued a warning. We showed mercy. We allowed Commander Thexwell to return home and communicate the consequences of attacking us again. If they choose to disregard that warning, what follows is on them. Yes, sir. One more thing, Captain. I am placing you in command of the operation. You have already faced Avri. You understand how they think. The New Horizons and her escort are yours to defend. Captain Chen felt the weight of that responsibility settle over her. 50,000 lives, civilians who had left Earth to build new lives on a distant world. Families, children, people who trusted the Navy to protect them. I won't let you down, sir. I know you won't. Now, go prepare your fleet. The Concordat is about to learn a very hard lesson. The Concordat fleet assembled in the Hexa system, a rendezvous point far from observation. 30 warships gathered in formation, ranging from light frigates to heavy battle cruisers. It was the largest military force the Concordat had deployed in a decade. High Prelate Kickstart observed from the bridge of his flagship the soar of dominance and felt a deep sense of satisfaction. This display of power would put the humans in their place. Strategic Overseer Minthal stood beside him, her expression unreadable. She had made one final attempt to persuade him to reconsider. He had refused. Now she was present to observe, gather intelligence, and prepare for whatever came next. All ships report ready, High Prelate. The communications officer announced. Excellent. Helm, set course for the intercept point. We will arrive ahead of the human colony ship and wait. When they see our fleet, they will have no choice but to yield. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel and emerged 3 hours later in an unremarkable stretch of space along the main shipping lane. According to intelligence, the human colony ship New Horizons would pass through in 18 hours. Kickstart ordered the fleet into a defensive sphere formation. Any approaching vessel would detect them from a great distance. He did not want to destroy the colony ship, only capture it. The humans would negotiate, pay a ransom, and the Concordat would reaffirm its power. Straightforward. Minthal studied the sensor readings with care. The region appeared empty aside from an asteroid field approximately 5 million kilometers away. Nothing irregular, but something felt wrong. She had learned to trust her instincts over 10,000 years of military experience. High Prelate, I recommend we send scouts to examine the asteroid field. Why? It is only rocks. Perhaps. But if I were the humans and knew someone intended to intercept my colony ship, I would prepare an ambush. That asteroid field would be an ideal concealment point. Kickstar considered this briefly, then dismissed it. You are being overly cautious. The humans do not know we are coming. We maintain communication silence. Our encryption is unbreakable. Besides, their colony ship has only 2 escort frigates according to our intelligence. Even if they conceal warships in the asteroids, we outnumber them. Min Thao said nothing. She moved quietly to a secondary station and began running probability calculations. The number she produced made her deeply uneasy. 18 hours passed slowly. The Concordat fleet held perfect formation. Crews remained at battle stations, weapons charged and ready. Kickstart paced his bridge like a caged predator, eager for the confrontation. Finally, sensors detected the approaching human vessels. 3 ships emerged from FDL travel at the edge of sensor range. One was clearly the colony ship, massive and cylindrical, painted white with blue markings. The other 2 were small military frigates, exactly as intelligence had indicated. There they are, Kickstart said with satisfaction. 3 ships against our 30. Open the channel. Give them the opportunity to yield before we. His words were cut off as alarms erupted across the bridge. Multiple contacts. The sensor officer's voice was frantic. Ships decloaking from the asteroid field. Count is at 15, no, 20. Readings are still incoming. The main display revealed the tactical situation, and Min Thao felt her blood run cold. Human warships were materializing like apparitions from the asteroid field. They had been there all along, concealed in sensor shadows, waiting. And these were not frigates or patrol vessels. These were capital ships, dreadnoughts, heavy cruisers, destroyers. How did they know? Kickstart demanded. How did they know we would be here? Min Thao had the answer. It terrified her. They had been listening to us. They broke our encryption. They knew we were coming before we even departed port. Before Kickstart could respond, a message broadcast across all Concordat frequencies. It originated from the colony ship, but the voice was not that of a civilian captain. It was an artificial intelligence speaking in flawless Vree language. Hostile fleet detected. Civilian evacuation protocol initiated. Military assets. Your weapons free for New Perth. The human fleet struck. What happened next would be examined in military academies for generations. The humans did not advance in a disorganized surge. They moved with absolute coordination, each ship knowing precisely where to position itself and what to accomplish. It resembled a performance of choreography, except the performers were instruments of destruction. The 3 dreadnoughts opened fire first. Their main guns launched projectiles that glowed white-hot, generated by magnetic fields simulating atmospheric conditions, heating the rounds to extreme temperatures. When those rounds struck Concordat shields, they did not simply punch through. They melted through. 6 Concordat ships detonated in the first 10 seconds. Their shields failed. Their hulls were breached. Their reactor cores went critical. The crews had no time to respond. Return fire. Kickstart roared. All ships engage. The Concordat fleet attempted to comply. Plasma bolts, missiles, and particle beams were all launched, but the human ships were too swift. They moved in patterns that appeared random, but were not. Every time a Concordat vessel locked weapons, the human target had already relocated and was firing from a new angle. Then came the drones. The human frigates launched hundreds of small autonomous fighters, each no larger than a personal shuttle. They swarmed over the Concordat fleet like a plague, too small and numerous for the larger vessels to target effectively. Each drone carried precision missiles programmed to strike specific vulnerable points: sensor arrays, weapon mounts, engine exhausts. A Concordat cruiser to Min Thao's left attempted to flee. It broke formation and tried to engage its FDL drive. A human destroyer fired a single round that struck the cruiser's engineering section with flawless precision. The FTL drive detonated, taking half the ship along with it. "Shields at 30%, the tactical officer shouted. "We cannot sustain much more of this." Menthal observed the tactical display and understood something clearly. The humans were being deliberate. They were destroying some ships entirely, but only disabling others. They were making calculated choices about who lived and who did not. This was not a battle. It was an execution. A new voice came over the communications channel. "Captain Chun, the human officer who had defeated Commander Thexville. Concordat Fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chun of the United Earth Navy. You came here to attack a vessel carrying 50,000 civilians. You came to harm families, children, people who had done nothing to you. We warned you it would follow. You did not listen." Another salvo of human fire eliminated 3 more Concordat ships. The fleet was disintegrating, captains attempting to preserve their own vessels rather than fighting cohesively. "You have one opportunity to survive this." Captain Chen's voice remained steady. "All ships will power down weapons immediately and surrender. You have 30 seconds to comply. After that, we will treat you as active combatants, and you will be destroyed. The choice is yours." Kickstart looked around his bridge at the terrified faces of his crew. The main display showed only 8 Concordat ships still fully functional. 22 had been either destroyed or crippled in less than 5 minutes. "High Prelate," Menthal said quietly, "we must surrender. If we do not, everyone here will perish. I am the High Prelate of the Vree Concordat. I do not capitulate to inferior species. Then you will be a dead High Prelate, and the Concordat will collapse without leadership. Is your pride worth that cost?" Kickstart stared at her, rage and humiliation warring in his expression. Finally, he turned to the communication station. "Signal, all ships. Ceasefire. Power down weapons. We surrender." The shooting stopped. The human fleet held position, weapons still aimed at the Concordat survivors, but no longer firing. The sudden silence was somehow more oppressive than the battle had been. A new human vessel moved forward. It was even larger than the dreadnoughts, a command carrier armed with weapons and communications systems that dwarfed anything in the Concordat fleet. Admiral Katsuro's face materialized on every screen in the surviving Concordat ships. "High Prelate Kickstart, I am Admiral James Katsuro. You are now prisoners of war. Your surviving crew will receive medical treatment. Your wounded will be cared for. You will be treated with the dignity you denied the people of New Perth." The Admiral's expression was carved from stone. "But understand this. What occurred here today is a mercy compared to what we are capable of. You attacked us twice. We defended ourselves twice. There will not be a third time. If the Concordat ever threatens another human life, we will not stop at dismantling your fleets. We will come to your worlds. We will dismantle your empire piece by piece. And we will ensure that every species in the galaxy understands that the Concordat fell because they could not leave humans alone." He leaned toward the camera. "You are being transported to a neutral station where diplomatic discussions will begin. I recommend you use that time to reflect carefully on what comes next, because humanity's patience has reached its end." The transmission ended. Kickstart sank into his command chair, defeated. Around him, his crew worked in silence, following human instructions to prepare for boarding. Menthal accessed her personal computer and began composing a report. She would ensure that every species in Concordat understood what unfolded here. The humans were not fragile. They were not easy targets. They were predators who had chosen the path of peace, but who had not forgotten how to hunt when necessity demanded it. Neutral Station Gamma 7 orbited a dead moon in unclaimed space. It was a vast structure constructed by the Galactic Diplomatic Corps, a place where wars concluded and treaties were signed. Today, it hosted the most consequential negotiation in recent galactic history. High Prelate Kickstart sat in a small, plain room. His ornate robes had been replaced with simple gray clothing. No weapons, no guards, no emblems of authority. Just a defeated leader awaiting the consequences of his choices. Across from him sat Strategic Overseer Menthal and Commander Thexville. They would negotiate on behalf of the Concordat. The door opened and 3 humans entered. Admiral Katsuro walked in first, followed by Captain Chun and a civilian diplomat named Ambassador Williams. They sat without ceremony. No grand entrance. No display of victory. They simply took their seats and waited. Ambassador Williams spoke first. High Prelate, before we begin formal negotiations, Admiral Katsuro has asked to say something to you personally. Kickstart nodded stiffly. The Admiral leaned forward, his hands folded on the table. 6 weeks ago, your forces attacked New Perth. You killed 3,000 of my people. Among them was my daughter. Her name was Emily Katsuro. She was 23 years old. She was a teacher. She taught young children about Earth history and music. She loved her work. She loved those children. The Admiral's voice remained composed, but his eyes carried a grief that had no bottom. When your ships attacked, Emily tried to get her students to safety. She helped them evacuate to the shelters. She died protecting them. 15 children survived because of her sacrifice. Kickstart felt something shift inside his chest. He had ordered that assault. He had called humans weak and fragile. He had never paused to consider that they were people with families and people who loved them. I tell you this, the Admiral continued, because I want you to truly understand something. Every human who died on New Perth had a story. They had families. They had dreams. They had worth. And humanity remembers every single one of them. When you attempted to attack our colony ship, carrying 50,000 civilians, you weren't targeting military objectives. You were attempting to kill families, children, people like my daughter. The Admiral sat back. So let me be entirely clear. The only reason you are sitting here instead of floating dead in space is because we chose mercy. But that mercy has limits. Do you understand? Kickstart's voice was rough. I understand, Admiral. I am sorry for your loss. Your sorrow does not bring my daughter back, but it may preserve lives in the future. Let us begin. Ambassador Williams called up holographic documents. The United Earth government has established its terms for peace. First, the Concordat will formally recognize all human territorial claims. Second, a demilitarized zone will be established between human and Concordat space. No military vessels from either side permitted to cross. Third, the Concordat will pay reparations to the families of New Perth victims. Fourth, all future first contact situations will adhere to established peaceful protocols. And fifth, a permanent diplomatic mission will be established between our peoples. Min Thao reviewed the terms carefully. These conditions are surprisingly fair. I anticipated harsher demands. We do not want to dismantle the Concordat, Captain Chen said. We want to be left in peace. But we also want to ensure this never happens again. That is why we are also proposing a joint council with other species in the region to share experiences, establish protocols for peaceful contact, and create a framework for resolving disputes without war. Thexville spoke for the first time. You want to build a galactic community? A place where different species can coexist peacefully. That is precisely what we want, Admiral Katsuro confirmed. Humanity has endured too many wars. We have seen what fear and hatred can produce. We have come close to destroying ourselves on multiple occasions. We came to the stars hoping to find a better way forward. But we also learned that peace demands strength. You must be strong enough that no one dares attack you, and wise enough to choose peace when you can. Min Thao looked at Kickstart. The High Prelate had been silent, his expression contemplative. Finally, he spoke. I was wrong about humans. I believed your desire for peace was weakness. I believed your reluctance to conquer was timidity. I see now that it requires far greater strength to choose peace than to choose war. I nearly destroyed the Concordat because of my pride. He met Admiral Katsuro's gaze. I accept your terms. All of them. And I will personally ensure the Concordat adheres to them. But I have one request. What request? Allow Commander Thexville to serve as our permanent ambassador to humanity. He has witnessed what your people are capable of. He understands you better than anyone else in the Concordat, and he has demonstrated his wisdom by choosing surrender over pointless death. Ambassador Williams looked at Thexville. Commander, would you be willing to accept this role? Thexville stood and inclined his head. I would be honored. I failed my people once by underestimating humanity. I will not fail them again by refusing to learn from that error. Then it is agreed. Admiral Katsuro said, the conflict between humanity and the Concordat is over. Let us ensure it remains that way. 6 months later, the colony ship New Horizons completed its voyage. The colonists settled on a beautiful world they named Haven, far from the turmoil of the past. The first structure they built was not a factory or a fortress. It was a memorial. The New Perth Memorial stood on a hill overlooking the main settlement. It was a simple structure of black stone, with 3,000 names carved into its surface. Each name represented a life ended, a story interrupted, a family changed forever. Admiral Katsuro stood before the memorial during the dedication ceremony. Representatives from 30 different species were in attendance, including Strategic Overseer Minthal and Ambassador Thexville. It was an inaugural gathering of the new Galactic Peace Council. The Admiral stepped forward to speak, his voice carrying across the assembled crowd. We gather here today to remember 3,000 people who died because of fear and misunderstanding. They were farmers and teachers, engineers and artists, parents and children. They came to New Perth to build something better. They died because someone decided they were vulnerable. He paused, looking out at the gathered assembly. But their deaths were not without meaning. Because of New Perth, humanity revealed to the galaxy who we truly are. We are not conquerors. We are not pacifists. We are survivors who have learned that peace is worth fighting for. We are builders who carry weapons. We are dreamers protected by those willing to stand in the way of harm. He gestured toward the memorial. Let this monument endure as a reminder, not of hatred or vengeance, but the true price of conflict. Every name here represents a choice to attack rather than communicate, a choice to fear rather than understand, a choice to destroy rather than build. He turned to face the crowd directly. The Galactic Peace Council exists because we all made a different choice. We chose to learn from tragedy. We chose to build connections instead of barriers. We chose to honor the dead by protecting the living. This is humanity's offering to the galaxy, the understanding that peace is not the absence of capacity for violence. Peace is the choice not to use it. Ambassador Thexville stepped forward, his translator conveying his words into every language represented. On behalf of the Recon Cordat, I stand before this memorial in shame and in hope. Shame for what my people did. Hope that we can build something greater. Humans say they remember everything. Let all species remember this place. Let us remember what becomes of those who choose fear over understanding. And let us commit together to never allowing it to happen again. The ceremony continued. Minthal spoke about the value of cultural exchange. A human scientist outlined plans for joint research endeavors. A trader from the Quilox discussed new economic partnerships. As the sun descended over Haven, casting long shadows across the memorial, Captain Sarachin stood beside Admiral Katsuro. She had been promoted once more, now commanding her own battle group. But today she wore a simple dress uniform with no weapons. Do you think it will hold, sir? The peace. Admiral Katsuro looked at the memorial, at the names of the people he had not been able to save, at his daughter's name, carved into stone permanently. I don't know, Captain, but we've given it chance. We showed the galaxy that humanity will defend itself, but we also showed that we prefer peace. That is all we can do. And if someone else challenges us, if another species decides to test us, the Admiral's expression hardened slightly. Then we remind them why it is a mistake to provoke humans. We do what we did to the Concordat. We defend ourselves. We extend mercy to those who yield. And we make certain the lesson is learned. Peace through strength isn't about readiness to kill. It is about being so clearly formidable that no one wishes to discover full extent of what you are capable of. Captain Chin nodded. For New Perth. For New Perth, the Admiral repeated. And for every human who will live in peace because we were strong enough to demand it and wise enough to offer mercy. Far above Haven, the stars glimmered in the darkness. Human ships patrolled the borders, vigilant and prepared. But they were no longer alone.